The book of 2 Corinthians. In his second letter to the Corinthians, the Apostle Paul defends his ministry before the troubled Corinthian church, which challenged his legitimacy and authority. He counteracts unregenerated church members, false teachers, and Judaizers who have discredited his ministry. The letter is difficult to grasp unless we keep in mind these matters related to Paul's opponents. The apostle begins building a case against his foes by appealing to his sufferings, excruciating ministry afflictions which came upon him in a variety of ways. No other apostle experienced what he endured. His ordeal stemmed from his persecution of the church while he was a Pharisee. To a greater extent, his identity with Christ multiplied his afflictions. The Christology of 2 Corinthians is one of suffering, which gives credence to his apostleship that the pretenders and false prophets missed altogether. After a short introduction, the apostle states straightforwardly that he abundantly suffers for Christ, but immediately following, he declares that the comfort of Christ is equally plentiful. The apostle mentions death numerous times, but he states simply that Christ will yet deliver them. In the context of Paul's persecution, harrowing challenges, and sometimes looming death, Christ is the guarantor of God's promises, along with the help of the Holy Spirit for survival in ministry. Christ is the spiritual locus where triumph is always assured. Here, triumph is again related to survival in ministry. The apostle speaks with Christ's authority, fully aware of the great responsibility of biblical preaching. This contrasts with false prophets who peddle the word for profit. True believers among the Corinthians are called a letter of Christ, meaning they bear the resemblance of the Lord. Paul's Christocentric ministry is sealed by the Holy Spirit and God Himself. Application. Christian life and ministry follow in the footsteps of Christ not only in victories, but also in sufferings. This view was met with disapproval by many Corinthian believers, and likewise will be opposed by many contemporary believers. These cynics disregard the fact that Christ was more evident in the Apostle Paul via sufferings rather than the rhetorical eloquence of false teachers. Suffering for Christ, as the Apostle Paul did, is a difficult but ultimately blessed experience, patterned after Christ's suffering.